Did you spend $20,000 or $25,000 on a motorcycle and you could only go straight? Well, if you did, well, I got the course for you. It's the Ride Like a Pro course that you see us doing right here. And we will teach you technique, just 3 of them: proper use of your head and eyes, how to use the friction zone, and how to use the rear brake to help stabilize the motorcycle. Now, we had sort of an unusual day. We had 7 riders, 5 of which had practiced the techniques prior to coming to the class. The other 2, and here's one of them here, is having some problems. They're pretty much the average rider who doesn't know technique, rides on instinct, but they got at least a 200 to 300% improvement by the end of the class. Now, in the blue shirt there, that's Linda. You've seen her in some of my other videos. She's gotten so good she can actually show off now. This particular rider is about to go to motor officer training. So he came to the class, of course, to get the techniques down. He's going to need them for the motor officer class. And by the way, this is about, I'd say, 45 minutes into the class. The exercise is called the offset cone weave. It's a series of left turns and right turns. And here I've added some circles to the exercise to get the riders having the ability to turn circles both to the right and to the left. That forces you to use your head and eyes. At the lower part of your screen, you can see the drone shot. That gives you a pretty good idea what the exercise actually is, but mainly it's left turns and right turns with some circles in between. I advise the riders they could make the circles any place they want throughout the exercise, but they have to make some to the right and some to the left. Should be as good to the right as you are to the left. And this is one of the practice riders who practiced prior to coming to the class. This particular rider had some problems. He was the average rider, hadn't practiced prior to getting there, and he's about average. This is what I see quite often: going too slow, not having a really good handle on the friction zone. I'm yelling to him to slip the clutch. That means use the friction zone, because he was tending to idle through, and idle is not quite enough. There's a chance you could drop the motorcycle if you don't have enough power going to the rear wheel. His improvements were absolutely amazing by the end of the class. This is the other rider. As I said, 2 out of the 7 were riding on instinct alone, hadn't practiced. In fact, this particular rider, about halfway through the class, was ready to quit. We talked him into staying, and by the end of the class, he had improved tremendously and thanked us for talking him out of quitting the class. I mean, that's what you come here for, is to learn. This is the time to practice. Here we're in the intersection exercise. We call this the intersection, or you could call it an iron cross. And right now it's, I believe, at 24 feet wide by 36 feet long. And 24 feet is what you have out on the road to make a U-turn. If you want to make a U-turn on your average street, you got 2 lanes, 12 foot each, 24 feet. Again, here's Linda doing very good now. If you've seen the videos I did with her initially, her skills were just about non-existent. She's gotten pretty good now through both private lessons I gave her and practicing on her own. Again, up in the right part of the screen, the drone shows you what the exercise actually is. If you can't figure this out, the 4-leaf clover. Now, several of the riders had ape hangers and had lowered the rear of their motorcycle, and that limits the lean angle. But as you can see, if you got the will, there's a way. The techniques always work no matter what you've done to your motorcycle. You could make it more difficult on yourself, but that's the bike they've got. That's the bike they're riding. I even have them go the opposite way in the intersection so that all the U-turns are to the right, because you need to be as good to the right as you are to the left. All the riders were thrilled with their improvements. Even the skilled riders, or the riders who had practiced prior to getting there, still improved their skills tremendously. And I know that there's some people out there who might watch this and say, this doesn't look too hard, and it's not hard if you know the proper techniques. Without technique, it's extremely difficult. But that's why they're here, to learn technique. Here's the rider who had the most problems. He had a big fear of leaning. He had a good handle on the clutch and throttle, but he was really afraid to lean the motorcycle. We got him over most of that fear, and as I said, he improved dramatically by the end of the class. And I know this is frustrating for some people, especially if you've been riding for years. Now here's the Snowman. This is the exercise most people find the most difficult, and that's because there's so many cones. We have a 30-foot circle to the left. This is a 26-foot circle to the right, and it ends with a 24-foot circle to the left. My wife executes it perfectly. We'll even show you a drone shot of it. And we had kind of a cloudy day where the sun would come out for just a few minutes, so that's why you see it appears from the drone footage to be a little washed out. Nothing we could do about that. Now in motor officer training, the actual motor officer school that one of the riders is going to be going through, these circles are actually, they start, here he is, this is the guy that's going to go to motor school. This is a 30-foot circle, and the class is going to be 19-foot, 18-foot, and then 17-foot. So this is perfect practice for what he's going to be going through. Now, of course, in that class, you've got 10 days, 8 to 10 hours per day to get it, and about 70% of the riders make it through the class. In other words, they qualify.
Excellent.
The people who get frustrated and quit, well, of course, they're never going to do it, and I've seen that in motor training. This is a rider also who practiced prior to getting there, and he's not a young kid. I'm going to guess he's in his early 60s, and I hope he doesn't get mad. He might be in his late 50s, but he did very well. He made some mistakes, but that's why we're here. If they were perfect, they wouldn't need me. Again, notice the ape hangers, and you can't see it from here, but the bike is lowered in the rear, and that means the pegs and the boards are going to scrape a lot sooner. It also limits your turning radius. Normally a bike would have a 32-degree lean angle. With the way these are lowered, that takes it down to about 28 degrees. That means it's not going to turn as tight as the stock motorcycle will. But I guess the ape hanger thing is the fashion these days, and a lot of people are getting them. It's not helping. This rider has them tilted back towards him, which helps quite a bit. But some of the other riders with those ape hangers leaning forward, it's a little bit tough when you're turning at or near full lock. Now here the riders were doing such a good job, I decided to do a little follow the leader. And the thing is here, I'm not running any particular exercise. They just have to follow me. They don't know where I'm going. They have no idea which way I'm going to go next, so they got to really pay attention. I used the 5 of the best riders that I knew would be able to do this, and the idea is to stay as close to the rider in front as possible. So all the rider behind me has to do is watch, and whatever way I'm turning, if he just keeps his head and eyes on me, he'll wind up going the exact same way and taking the same path through all the turns. I'm trying to watch them in my mirror to see how close they are. If they get a little bit too further back, I slow down and start turning some circles. Now here I really shocked them by taking them inside the beginning of the Snowman. That last rider really had to get in there quick to make sure we could all fit. I thought of taking them all the way through to this 26-foot and then 24-foot turn, but you never know. And the last thing I want to do is cause somebody to drop their bike when they don't have to. But they did a pretty good job following me. And if you like these videos of my classes, I usually give them to you at least once a week. I hope you subscribe and hope you pay attention and you learn something by this. That's the whole point of this. Till next time.